I don't know if anybody knows this, but like the biggest reason we're one of the top accounts is...
Please welcome Zach King.
Zach King.
20 million subscribers on YouTube.
On TikTok, he has 65 million followers.
So many people are out there saying social media is oversaturated. How do you come up with new ideas?
Every video starts with the same process. People are always surprised when they find out I don't edit the videos myself.
What number do you think somebody would have to give you to sell your studio?
500 million. I'd probably take that deal.
Can we actually see how much you've made off of TikTok and compare that to YouTube Shorts?
We're going to start some beef here. Total.
Oh my God.
You're very good at what you do.
Zach, thanks for having us over, man.
Thanks for coming over, John.
I can't help but notice that's your desk behind us.
Yes.
Where you come up with a lot of ideas.
Yep.
And I think it's been 14 years, 600 videos at last count over that you've produced.
Yes.
And over 20 billion views.
Yes. And I can tell you that number is way higher, actually. So that's only some video. What is that, an Instagram stat maybe?
The Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
I think we've done the math of our archive of the short 6-second to 30-second or 1-minute videos. We've done like over 3,000 now.
I think when I see that number, what blows my mind the most, Zach, is that so many people are out there saying every idea has been done.
Yeah.
Social media is oversaturated. Yet here you are coming up with new ideas that are just getting better and better. So how do you come up with new ideas and what's your creative process?
Well, that's what I thought too. Like I remember being on the Ellen show, and the next day, my buddy and I, who were writing a lot of the concepts, were like super bummed out because we were like, at that point, we had made like 80 to 100 videos. And I was a couple months into Vine. And at the time, I was making one a day, like minimum for the first month or two. So I was already like tapping out of the ideas. Like I thought the well was running dry. Like I always thought for years, it was like this mystical muse would pop down while I'm playing table tennis and give me an idea. And that's kind of how for a little bit we ran the studio. Like when we were first getting our first couple employees, we'd like have this massive warehouse and we're like, well, let's go play. Let's do Nerf. Let's do go-karts and ideas will pop out as we go. And that's true. Like a lot of great ideas came out of that. We'd be go-karting and be like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if like you could do this while you're, and it's like, there's some of that, but at the end of the day, it's just about sitting down and doing the work. And so that's the new mindset for us over the last couple of years, is building a process around ideas and getting to not just like any idea, but to your better ideas. Like how do you find and whittle down to those?
What did that brainstorming process look like when you started? For every aspiring creator out there who's like, I can't come up with new ideas or I'm hitting a wall. Like how does Zach King do it? When
I started my YouTube channel around 2008, I was in college and I had some roommates and I would just spitball them the ideas. I think it was like at the time, probably like $100 an idea. And if we end up making it, you get paid kind of thing. Like,
oh wow, so there's a bonus to it.
It was like really, it was like early, there was no formal agreement of employment. It was just, hey, do you want to like come up with some ideas and we'll see if like they're Vine videos. I've learned now like how to so what our Mondays looks like currently is at 1 o'clock, we go through everybody's ideas and like everybody comes to the table with a concept, whether you're in like, the meeting you're in, somebody from finance is there, an assistant's in there. Like we don't have a writer's room, but I consider like, at least for the work that we do, anyone can have a great idea, but it doesn't start as a great idea. I think that's like the hang up.
How do you recommend somebody who's like, I'm not a creative, they might tell themselves like, how do they come up with those ideas to then get feedback on them? I feel like
I personally love prompts. So whether it's like, hey, we're going to be talking about holidays or we're going to be talking about going underwater or going to space. I like to have a theme.
Yeah.
Or let's do, we were talking out there, like what would it look like if Wes Anderson directed my TikToks?
Yeah, I thought that was the best one. Yeah.
And so like there was a good pulse on that. Yeah. But I think with that idea, I would just ruminate like 20 ideas based on that. Like Wes Anderson does, he's iconic for some of his train shots, from his dolly shots, his framing. So I build like different stories based on those 3, and then just keep going, like list it.
When you mention prompts, I can't help but think about AI.
Yeah.
And everything going on right now with ChatGPT,
Yep.
Google launching Bard. How much do you use AI tools in your brainstorming process?
I love it for images. Like I will not make any T-sheet images by myself anymore. I will always use some version of AI.
What is a T-sheet for those who
So
might not be
T-sheet,
familiar?
I think is like a Duncan Wardle term, but it's essentially like picture, or you could throw up a graphic. It's an 8.5 by 11 paper with a T written across, and then you've got a synopsis on one side and a picture on the other and a title on the top. And that's just to help all kinds of learners. You have people who read, you have people that just, for me, a visual learner, I see like an image and I get the concept a little easier. And then you also come up with like that memorable top line title that is almost like, it's not YouTube title ready, but it's just to give you an essence, and sometimes it's very memorable. So that gives us a big display. And so the images is what I'm talking about. We will take them and throw them into AI. I was doing this concept, like I'm a terrible artist, like by hand. So I wanted to like display this concept where I'm, you know, topiaries are like giant in gardens, the giant sculptures they do like of elephants or like, giraffes. Like they often have them at zoos. I wanted to do a concept with that, and I could never draw that in a million years. But the team got, I think I wrote in AI, like me, an Asian guy trimming a topiary elephant. And it like comes up with this really cool, and that was like pretty much the final design of our CGI model that we ended up building.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it's cool to help like imagine the ideas and bring them to life.
I thought it'd be interesting, Zach, to take us through, you mentioned prompts, like ideas, like to show you a video of yours. It did really well.
Yeah.
And if you could take us through, like, how did that come from concept to fruition?
Great. All right. So this is an Amazon video. I'm in my room packing for a trip, magically pop off my clothes. And I tell Amazon, the Alexa device, take me, I can't remember the word, but I say, take me on a vacation, tropical vacation. And the room fills up with water, real water. It's crazy. There's fish. There's a stingray. And I'm thinking about how many hours it took just to get that stingray in the video, rotoscoped there. That video started with, like, every video really starts with the same process, but we call it the idea dump. And so when I'm talking to my team about like, this is the kind of brainstorm you don't go in with any creative work done. You're just sitting down. I'm with you for the first time saying, hey, John, we're trying to brainstorm for Amazon. This is their prompt. And their prompt was, have Alexa do something magical, like fictional, that it is not possible. So we start with the idea dump, and we literally like, we'll do at least 100 ideas before we even move on out of that stage. So we'll put them on a wall. Usually about an hour session, we'll have a solid 100, 150 ideas. And then we do a little pulse session. And the pulse is like not a popularity contest on who had the best idea or anything, but everybody gets 1 or 2 sticky votes to put on the wall or on the jam board, a little smiley face of which one is their favorite. And like, that's just to get a gauge of like what idea is actually resonating with the team. Even today, like it usually happens where like somebody gets, a concept will get 4 or 5 votes out of all of them. And you're like, and sometimes I don't see it. I'm like, I don't get why. Like I voted on a different one. Why is this one? And we'll come back and we'll just question people of like, what about that? Like, let's get really specific. Is it the setting that you like? Is it the character? Is it because you can imagine them in this wardrobe, or is it actually the trick? Is it the illusion? And it's usually not the illusion. It's usually story. It's usually something that the common one is the team's like, oh, well, I've waited in a line a lot this week. And so like, I'm thinking about traffic. So like that idea is interesting and it's human and it's very relatable. And the hard part is like, we'll have producers in the room at that point, but we tell them like, you're a writer right now. We're building up the idea. We're not a producer. We're not thinking about the budget. Obviously, I mean, there is an element where like we have different tiers for our budgets. We say there's an A tier. And that way you do have to have a general like, okay, on C tier, you're going to have 1 camera person, 2 PAs, and you're going to have 4 hours to shoot it. So like, your limitations for each budget range. And we had talked about me being scuba diver for a while, but we noticed that the viewers like drop out if I'm covered in a mask or they can't like identify.
Yeah, if you were in like
me.
Full on scuba gear, they wouldn't be able to identify this is Zach King video if they saw it in their feed.
Or if I have gray hair. But so we decided to make me a free diver with like really small goggles that were clear so you could see me. And then, but we still liked the scuba diver outfit. We thought that was like super iconic. That old classic one from Tintin that I remember you'd go down and walk on the bottom of the ocean with the metal helmet. So we were like, how could we get that involved? And we figured out, well, like it's so simple. Like Alexa is round. So like that could be the shape of the helmet when it starts floating too.
Yeah, there's like a reveal moment in the video.
Yeah, there's a reveal.
Alexa turns into the scuba diver.
Yeah, and that's also great because Amazon's happy that their character,
it's personified.
So it was a win-win.
When does the yes and mode end? When does the plus oneing of an idea
After
end?
the refinement. So we try to get, because you still, there's going to be another batch of like production, a lot of production refinement later. But the idea refinement, we're trying to get at like, what is the heart of the idea that we really like? And if money was endless, how would we do? What would we do for that idea?
Yeah.
Because obviously then you'll have a reality check later.
Right.
And start pulling a lot of things.
Interesting. Yeah. How much did that cost to make?
Six figures.
6 figures.
Yeah, to make that video because we had to sink a set and over a pool.
Oh wow! I thought
like a
for some reason all the water was brought in afterwards. And CG. That is real water. You're getting
real
dunked
water.
into.
Yes. So there's a mix of CG water in there.
Yeah.
The filling, because the idea was we had a camera, a scuba diver going down with the set and me, but the set didn't go down in 6 seconds like we had been told it. They told us it would. But no, when you practice, that's like a production thing.
Yeah.
It took like 2 minutes to go down because it was barely hitting the walls of this guy's pool, like a dive pool, and so we realized I had to just jump cut basically. So I stayed there for 2 minutes, did a breath hold, wait for everyone to get set. We ghost it, reline. And then, but the middle is like elements of the water, CG, simulation.
Another thing, Zach, I was really blown away by just like studying your work is that you save room on production day when you're shooting for another 10% push to try to make the videos more creative.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Like when you get the shot, then you're like, okay, like let's take a break and let's try to make it even better. Like take me through the improv that happens on the day of the shoot after you've done all the brainstorming, the setup, you've paid for an expensive set in this case. Like how do you make sure that on that day you get the most creative piece of work possible? Yeah,
the 10% is something, I really love it. And it makes some of our videos the most special. And if we look at the most viral videos we've done too, in terms of viewership, like it was always the ones that we plus 10%. And what's cool is like anybody watching this can do the 10% on their concepts, even by themselves.
Yeah.
I just happen to do it, with the couple people that are on set with me. But it's essentially when we start getting, after we've blocked and even shot, like usually we like to get a take that we call is our like backup safety. It's the take that we probably will use if we stopped filming right now.
Yeah.
We're maybe on average, we're like 30 takes in by that point. But then we question the material and it's like, okay, so we've been doing the same camera motion the same time. Why are we going this way? Is there anything else we'd want to see? But we ask like, what is the extra 10%? Like what's going to make this more watchable or even better or funnier if we're going for a punchline to land? You could ask that on your show.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, I go in, if I'm doing like an explainer video and I go in with a script, then I'm like, all right, let me knock down the points that I think are going to make this video really good. Then I'm going to ad lib.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to add to it. Then I'm going to try different intros. So I have a version of that, but it's interesting to see that you labeled it.
The idea, when did you do the segment where you draw their income?
Yeah.
To me, that feels like that came out of adding an extra 10% question, like asking like, is there something we could do here that's not just saying it, but like showing it? That's a 10%.
Totally. And it just coming up, like people would talk about their income in different ways. And then I'm a visual thinker.
You're like I can't break this down.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, I need a visual for this. And I love like the kindergarten aspect of drawing and like, bring out the markers. What's an example of how you've done that for long form? Because I think a lot of these ideas, Zach, like make a lot of sense for short form. Like you're planning the beats. But I thought it was really interesting. You had a video that you put up where you won a Mr. Beast challenge. You got $1 million.
Right.
And then you made your own video where you gave away those $1 million.
Right.
But what I found was fascinating when I was doing research for this is that you said you planned the beats of that video before you filmed it.
Right.
What does that mean? Like how you went and filmed like a fake video or a rough draft video to like, because I thought that was so interesting because it's a spontaneous type of video. You're giving away money. You have contests, like, but at the same time, you even were able to pre-produce and plan that. How did that work? Yeah.
We do on YouTube, we don't do as much of the mock-ups all the way through for that like unscripted bits. But there is, I mean, everything it's completely scripted.
Yeah.
But like not the contestants portion,
of course,
but all of the rules and like the transitions, especially that we think we're going to say. And we get so many alts that we do for the editor for each transition. In that video, there was at least 10 ways we said the line that we had written out that Luke, the YouTube producer, he'll just say off camera to me and I'll repeat the line and we'll go through the list and he'll cross them off. We had shot like versions of the intro because we wanted to know what's catchier, and I'll go around on the phone and we'll show teams like Alt 1, you'll get Alt 2, Alt 3, and then we'll see if like there's any like people saying 2 is really good, and we'll go on that. And
you'll record those on your phone?
Yeah, so I'll be like, in this video, we're gonna be whatever it is. We're trying to do one for that Magic of the Month, this film competition.
Yeah.
So we're trying to like parse out, how do we tell the audience that this is a film competition, that at the end of this, they're gonna see celebrity judges, and in the middle, there's gonna be some crazy physical challenges that'll be interesting to watch. How do we say that in a sentence or two and do it in like 6 seconds or 5 seconds probably?
What have you found works versus doesn't?
To me, I'm really new in the YouTube game. Like I started a YouTube creator, left YouTube to go do Vine, and like I love it's come full circle for me.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I'm watching your show because I'm trying to learn about YouTube. I'm trying to figure. So I haven't figured that out yet. But the biggest thing is like figuring out what's your audience expects. It's funny. There's some things I want to do on YouTube that just I love doing as a filmmaker, but honestly, I think the channel's too big for it. That I'm gonna have to create a separate channel to go make it. Like to me, it's a show, and you're programming for. And I think you've talked to about this with creators. Like they have an expectation, and they're gonna come back for that over and over. Yeah. And so I think I might have to create like the channel's just too big right now.
I saw that Mr. Beast was recently offered over $1 billion for somebody to buy out his business and channels.
Yeah.
What number do you think somebody would have to give you to sell your studio?
A lot lower than that, probably. I don't know. So what would that, I'm trying to think out loud what that would look like what they would do with it. Is it mean the library of content? It's hard when it's tied to your like likeness.
Sure.
Like I view Zach on the channel as a character.
Yes.
He's like a more personified, energetic version of me, but I'd half that price.
Yeah.
So if anyone watching 500 million, I'd probably take that deal.
I think it's a perfect transition. We have a segment on the show called Draw Your Income. What's the first way that you make income as a creator?
All right. So the first way, which I mean, this pie is gonna be really easy for me to divide. I don't know if it's accurate, but let's say this is 80%. 80% is gonna come from ish. I mean, these are rough numbers.
Yeah. Draw it in. Draw it in. Color it in.
What do you think 80% is, John?
Production. Like people, like brands who hire you to do work and sponsor brand deals. Like
correct,
non-personal content.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. These are like really
Amazon ad.
Yes.
I would put in here.
Yes.
Are you also grouping stuff that you're not in?
This is maybe like the pure production without me. So what is that? Let's 10% production. Maybe this is 70%. I like when people, have you seen the videos where you guess your height and everyone always overestimates their height?
Oh, yeah.
And they actually pull out the measuring and it's like inches below.
Do you see the one where people rate how good they think they look?
No. That's probably like this. I'm overestimated though.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, a small sliver, honestly, like, I think we only make like 20,000 a month on AdSense. So it's, what is that? Oh, I'm going to say 5%. It's very tiny. And then like winning YouTube competitions is currently actually pretty high.
Are you serious?
Well, yeah. I won a table tennis competition and Mr. Beast.
You won Airx table tennis competition.
And then I won the hide and seek thing.
And then you won Mr. Beast hide and seek. Wow.
So, I mean, at that point, that's a percent of the year's budget.
Wow.
No, it's funny because we won the $1 million from Mr. Beast, but I think we spent like 20% of that, or 20% additional, just to make the videos about giving it away.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was expensive to give it away.
Yeah.
It was like we were all joking. It's a curse to win. It's more work.
The production budget of the video was
yeah, because we did two actually. So
wow.
It costs a lot to give money away nowadays.
Wow.
This line is probably TikTok and Shorts.
Zach, can we actually see how much you've made off of TikTok and compare that to YouTube Shorts?
You want to see I will show you the, so we've never revealed the TikTok Creator Fund, but it's total.
Look, if our YouTube videos ended with credits the same way Hollywood films did, it would look like this. We're the writers, actors, directors, producers, and so much more. That's where Fourthwall comes in. They power the shops of some of the biggest creators like MKBHD, Dr. Mike, Phil DeFranco, and now they want to give you the tools to launch your brand too. I'm talking about a stunning website that's fully customizable to you, an integrated shop with over 1,000 different products you could design and sell instantly, or even launch your own membership site. Plus, Fourthwall makes all the hard parts of launching your brand easy because they handle customer support, sales tax, and supply chain. Oh, and here's the kicker. No monthly fees. No upfront costs, no contracts, and Fourthwall only makes money when you do. So go to this link and you'll instantly get $15 to order free samples of whatever merch you want to get started. You only have 30 days, so try now. All right, back to the video.
Today,
$49 and
$49 today. No,
that's today's.
There you go.
$53,019.58.
I don't even check anymore. It's been a few months because I mean, I got to preface this too, like out of context, that number is for a lot of people, that's
it's a lot,
number.
a lot.
I'll say that. But for a
course.
creator, I think the issue is like it makes me sad we're getting billions of views for the creator that's getting, trying to even get like percent of that, the viewership. I mean, there's just no living from that.
Yeah.
And so it makes you have to get brand deals, which is fine. It's great to partner with brands, but it's a lot of work. So it's just less. That's when you actually start hire a team to do that, and then it's more management. But yeah, it's so YouTube Shorts. Is there a specific let's see. I just saw it the other day.
You could filter by Shorts monetization.
Do you want to do it?
Sure. Okay, since Shorts monetization launched, you made $7,900.35.
That's 2 months of YouTube.
Yes.
Shorts.
Yes.
So payout. I haven't done the math on that, but it's way better ratio.
That is for. Can I read the view count?
Yeah.
537.8 million views. So
nice.
Roughly 540 million views. Yeah.
That's
RPM
crazy.
of 2 cents. So much higher payout.
Yeah. That's gonna. I don't know.
Wow. Do you feel comfortable sharing your other metrics, like your overall like AdSense?
Oh yeah, sure. If you can find them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, go for it.
In the past 28 days, you made 28K
Yeah.
overall.
Nice. That's a high.
That's a high month.
Yeah, that's a high month.
So in the past 90 days, you've made $69,000 off of YouTube AdSense.
Right. How many views is that?
That's for 696 million views.
Right. I don't know what your take is on advertisers joining Shorts, and if is it full? Like, do you think they're barely monetizing that feed? Because it'd be hard for them to get. I mean, aren't they getting like 50 billion views a day or?
I think it's two things. One, I remember when I was at YouTube and we launched other ad formats for long form, like mid-roll and post-roll. It took a while for the advertiser teams to go out there and sell that inventory.
Yeah.
So my prediction is that payouts for Shorts are going to go way up.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
And then you have to think like Google is and YouTube is getting very savvy at bundling ad packages.
Right.
They're going to sell a bunch of those together in Shorts feed in long form. So I think a lot of creators, I see the Twitter threads. I'm like, oh my God, my payouts on Shorts are low. I'm like, they'll go up. Yeah. Maybe it won't be life-changing money, but it'll be more meaningful than the other platforms.
I think even if you look through the subscribers that you're getting, like there's a value to that, a huge value over time. Yeah. If they stick around for retention, that's what I'm just not sure if they are.
Yeah. But I think for the longest time they were separate, and that's why you saw a lot of people have two channels. I think you had a different Shorts channel. But I actually deliberately took a break from uploading long form and just focused on Shorts. And then I started putting out more long form. And I saw we had returning viewers. And I was like, where are those returning viewers coming from?
Yeah,
Shorts.
from Shorts. Have you guys found a certain cadence that works? Like we have a whole library of videos, like, you know, the 3,000 that we can pull from, could kind of do like endless Shorts. Is it like, right now I'm posting once a week-ish, maybe, if that. I kind of wait for them to, I don't know if it's a real theory. I haven't tested it, but I kind of like, I always get scared on any platform to post anything else. Like if something is just killing it, I just wait. I just let it go because it usually tapers.
What's your cadence right now?
Once every 7 to 10 days on Shorts.
On Shorts?
Yeah.
How do you think about long form and Shorts on your channel?
Right now, it's a production capacity thing. So we're just building the YouTube channel kind of from scratch. Yeah. Trying to go with one a week, one a month. Yeah. At minimum.
One long form
video. I'd rather like, I love the Mark Rober approach, or what it seems like he's doing, which is just make a great video. And it's fine if it comes out he's doing more once a month now, but in the past it was like every 4 months, every 6 months. Yeah. But it was a banger video. Yeah. And so like, I'd rather do that.
Yeah, I think about
cadence that is best.
I kind of think about it as a 28-day rule. Like I think about like people come back to your channel based on their past viewing history, right? Unless they're actively searching you out, which definitely happens. And so if you're getting your videos like recommended to people in the past 28 days, that could be from your library. Yep. But chances are, if you're a new channel up and coming, you have to have stuff within that month. Right. And more often than not, more than one touch point. So for me, we're trying to like upload at least like one of this like show, whether it's like an interview or like an ex-YouTube employee explains, which is another one of our formats, once every 2 weeks. Okay. And then we try to have 2 to 3 shorts in between that. Okay. And those are like things that I could batch produce and put out. And
would you, I mean, have you seen anybody kill it with like should I be going Shorts every day, one a day?
We did for the longest time.
Have you noticed any numbers? Like did everyone just do really well, or was it obvious? Was the system at all saying like, posting too much, I'll push out one for you, or every 4 videos?
No, I felt like it compounded. Okay. Because another reason is like, I'm a big believer in like, think about shorts as mini episodes. And so when we go out, I did that creator versus celebrity one where like I go on the street, like put like a picture of Tom Cruise and Mr. Beast and literally ask people, do you know these two people?
Yeah.
And people know Mr. Beast, but not Tom Cruise or vice versa. So we did about 20 of those. And so people who started watching 1, 2, 3, I think YouTube started recommending them to go down a rabbit hole to watch the whole show of these mini episodes.
And how did you categorize it as a show?
Just the format.
Got it.
The format is like, it's a program.
Got it.
It's like the smallest
But
version
nothing
of it.
about, there's no playlist or any title that's like episode 2, episode 3.
At the end of every short, I would have a teaser for the next one.
Okay. Oh, smart.
Yeah. So I would say, okay, Mr. Beast versus Tom Cruise, like 30, 40 seconds. And then at the end, okay, next one coming up, Logan Paul versus Tom Hanks.
Nice.
And then people it would be subscribed to watch. And I think the Mr. Beast one and Tom Cruise has 40 million. And Tom Hanks and Logan Paul has maybe 30 million.
Wow.
I feel like the Stranded series, these short films that you put out on YouTube are a culmination of so many of these skills.
Yeah.
Tell us, why did you decide to make this short film? Because it seems like the biggest budget production you've put out on social media in terms of videos. Tell us, for folks who may not have watched it, what is it? And why are you now making a third one?
So we went down to, years ago, me and some of my team went down to Jakarta for a speaking gig. And so we went there, we wrote a little 7-page script. It was like, I go in a computer on a treasure hunt and end up getting stuck with my friend and we can't get out. And so hence the title Stranded, but we meet a pirate and on that island. And really the key is like finding people who have ownership over the projects. Like I have a lot to do on my plate and I love directing, but I can't always direct. Even on our short films, directing is a huge task and producing. So we have Josh Fapp on the team, one of my director producers, and it was like he took ownership of the project. He loved the story. I mean, he was like interested in a second one. So we started working on that, and then we made the third one. And it's cool.
Which, by the way, if I could pick a bone with that thing, because I think you do it so well, you give ownership to other people on your team, to other people who are part of your creative process. One thing that for the life of me just drives me crazy is when creators want to grow, but they're not like, they hold their creative process too close. I don't mean to call.
I did that for years.
Yeah,
you're calling out.
I don't mean to call out Graham Stephan, but I found it so fascinating that in that interview, they're talking about like he was interviewing you about trying to grow.
You know, the thought I had in my back of my head, I think so many creators have, is like, oh, I'm the only one that can do this. Or I'm the only one to know when to cut because that's my style. I know he's looking at you.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard to let go?
Because I'm worried that that's the personality of the channel, is that, at least for the main channel, is that everything is done by me.
Yeah.
That once you start outsourcing things and trying to streamline things, you lose that feel.
And like, he has a very small team, like, credit to him for running lean. But I find that there's so many things that, like, if you delegate and you scale, like, you can still have personality even with a bigger team. But what do you think?
I love Graham. We're going to start some beef here. I think some people are just wired differently, like in that it's not enjoyable to them. And knowing Graham a little bit, like, I think it's just not his MO. Like, he's not interested in managing that, like, doesn't need to think about that, managing people. Like, it is one of the thoughts over the years as I built a team, like, that had come back in the first probably 6-7 years of building, having employees, was like, I'd come home and I'd talk to my wife and I'd be like, I really don't want to do this anymore. Like, I want to do it alone. I don't want to do it with people. There's management stuff that, like, it's anything that's not related to filmmaking or like the art of it. Yeah. And the business is fun, but like, there's just other things. You're like HR issue or whatever. Like, and it's like, it's draining. Yeah. But over the years now, I'm like, I love having a team because it really is like extra leverage. You can do so much more once you figure out some of those like management techniques or you kind of work with the system. I think that's why it's like, I can't be prescriptive. Yeah. Like, everybody has a version that makes them, Kevin Perry's a good friend of mine. Yeah. And he's an incredible creator. And I'm blown away by how he makes everything pretty much, I think, by himself. Or I know by himself for the most part. His wife will jump in and help here and there, but like, he's like a solo creator. Like, he is the king of that. And I think he's openly talked about on Twitter, like, he just had tried to build a team, and because of the pressure of like everyone's doing it and that's the way it's done. I think there's a ton of people who don't need a team, who can do it by themselves, and because they'll find more joy in it. Like, I am nervous of saying like, hey, you should get a team, Because, like, for example, I've never had an assistant, and everybody I met is like, "Oh, you never had an assistant? Like, you have to have it. How have you not had an assistant for 15 years?" And I was like, I've tried versions of it. I just don't like it. Like, I don't know. It's just not, doesn't vibe for me. And so I'm definitely being under efficient there for sure. I know that, but I just don't think I would function.
Totally hear that. I mean, trying to be a solo creator, you don't want to manage. Like, I think that's the reason why a lot of folks get into it, is for the artistic side of it. But it seems like you've been able to stay on the artistic side while hiring people to do the other stuff, or you've been able to bring people on that allow you to be more creative.
Yeah.
How did you get over that hurdle?
Real quick, we'll get right back to the video, but I want to say thank you to another one of our sponsors, Creative Juice. You know, the hardest part about being a creator today is honestly not the stuff you see on camera. It's the stuff that happens off of it. I'm talking about the finances, the operation, just the day-to-day of running a creator business. And that's where Creative Juice comes in. Simply put, Juice is a one-stop shop for all your business needs as a creator. They provide business funding, banking, and tax tools, and best of all, a community for creators. They just launched Juice Club, in fact, which is a great members-only community for creators where you'll get a lot of benefits like advanced bookkeeping tools, priority creator support, exclusive events and community, monthly AdSense advances, and so much more. And best of all, you get it all in one place for an affordable monthly price that's tax deductible. So check out the link below to get started. And now back to the video.
The only hiring rule we have is we'll ask the team, like, is this person better than you? And it's a weird question to ask because they're like, am I going to get fired after you hire them? But like they have to be, like, in the case of Josh, like, he's way better like managing bigger projects than I am. And so he's going to be brought on for that. He has a way better vision for those, and he can manage himself for 6 months on the project, me barely checking in.
Yeah.
That's the leverage that we're looking for in, like, the kind of partnerships.
I don't mean to pick on Graham, but it's just such an interesting topic because I think as the creator economy matures, there's a lot more people who are trying to grow. And I think one of the things that impresses me most about you, Zach, is that you're bringing a Hollywood level production to a lot of the things you're doing here on YouTube. And going back to Stranded, I'm curious, what are the things that you may have learned from different Hollywood experiences you've had? I know you're on The Amazing Race.
Yeah.
I saw your IMDb. You have a credit on Zootopia.
Yeah.
You've worked with a lot of big celebrities. Like, what are some of the things that maybe you've learned from Hollywood or traditional media that you've adopted to your process that enables you and your team to be more creative?
I learned a lot from Lord and Miller, who did the Lego movies. I mean, they've done a bunch of stuff, but when I toured their studio a couple years ago, they were in the process of the Lego movie, and what had worked for them was doing the previs, like just like animated films, and even Pixar, seeing their studios, they write the film several times and can see the film in different visualizations, animatics, storyboards. And so that's what I try to do with YouTube, or with a lot of our shorts, is everything we've seen it 3 times. It looks bad, but it's changed each iteration. And it's so important. Like, for us, 80% of the work is done in pre-production. But I had the creative control thing that I think you were like alluding to, which is I thought for a while I had to be the only editor.
Yeah.
And so people are always surprised when they find out I don't like edit the videos myself. Like, I'm always in After Effects every day doing something,
right?
But just to test a technique, or but not for our main videos. It's to like guide the development of the next thing,
right?
And so that's really fun. But yeah, like, there was once the moment I got an editor, I was like, hey, so this is my technique, and like, I'm probably the only one that really does this. And they're like, oh, I know how to do that. I'm like, okay, do you all know how to do that? And of course, like, yeah, everybody knows how to do that. It's there's no secrets here. There's no intellectual property on it.
Yeah. Is there other ways you've trained folks, or like as you start like bringing on, maybe like a creator brings on the first like person on their team, like how do you make sure that your personality like stays true in that content or whatever you make as your team gets bigger?
We do 6 months. So like, we always test somebody. We bring in a freelancer. They don't even know they're being tested. We'll just, after 6 months, if they're doing awesome, we can hire them. Because after 6 months, you've done a lot of projects with them.
Yeah.
And so that should give you a good gauge. You might have even traveled with them somewhere and been like, hey, they handled stress great.
Yeah.
So bring on that person.
Yeah. It's a great note. It's like, don't feel pressure to bring them on full time on day one.
Yeah.
Just try.
Yeah, that's a mistake for sure. Like, and firing takes way more work than hiring to undo that. So I would, and it's a morale for me too. Like, it sucks to fire people.
Yeah.
So I would just make sure you hire right the first time.
I also saw a speech you gave where you're like, Be Real is happening like a few months ago, or not 6-7 months ago. And you're like, this is a total disruption to my day, but I'm going to do a Be Real every day for 6 months.
Right.
You did. Why do you do that? You're a busy guy. You have things that are working for you.
Well, that's how I found Vine. Like that's how I found even TikTok. And I think the biggest reason, and I don't know if anybody knows this, but like the biggest reason we're one of the top accounts is just because we got a head start. Like by the time it was Musically was rebranded, I think we already had like 24 or 25 million subscribers.
Wow.
And that's just a huge head start. And by the time it gained popularity in like 2018, it was just hard to, the account was so big.
Yeah.
So at first movers advantage like really applies. And so I'll try every single app that comes out that feels like has something creatively that excites me.
Yeah.
I think like what's fun right now for me is playing with even Twitter threads. I actually think there's going to probably be in the future, like some version of a Twitter creator that I'm shocked maybe there are people, but I think you could do a lot with just being a great photographer and being a great writer, pairing those two.
Yeah. And it's fascinating from having worked at YouTube and Instagram on the platform side. Like I remember whenever we launch a new feature, we're looking for champions of people who are using it, like doing interesting things with it.
Highlight them,
highlight
the
them,
feature.
like work with them. Like, there's so many partner managers that are trying to get feedback from the engineering team. Just the access and the exposure.
Right.
Is so different in those early days than later on. And then I always think about, because I had a moment like that where I went all in on Clubhouse when that was a thing.
Yeah.
And I thought about, okay, Clubhouse, not many people go on it today, but the skills I learned there, the relationships, all of those are transferable.
Even if the platform fails, you made something interesting that maybe you can take and still enjoy later or put it somewhere else. Or you just learn skills while doing it.
Zach, what do you think is the most underappreciated video you've made?
I thought it was genius and I still love it, but I don't know. I have a theory. I'm always nervous of creators that are like, I have a theory about shadow banning, but I do. We made a video about gas prices back when they were like getting to $8 ish on like the premium side here in California. And so I made a video that I was like, it was edited super well.
The horse one?
Yes.
Yeah.
It goes from a horse and it turns to it goes from a car, a G-Wagon, which I thought was funny, to like a horse wagon buggy kind of thing. And it like wraps around perfectly. I never leave shot. It was really hard to do. And I think it got like, I want to say like 3 or 6 million views after the course of a year. Like that video to me was a super banger. That should be 100 million views. And I think it's because I'd be so curious if ever like in the next year, gas prices go crazy again, or there's a political way. I think it's because we mentioned gas prices and they were trying to stop the gas conversation. I don't know. That's my theory. Because that video was great.
Yeah.
Well,
I watched it a few times.
Maybe I'm off on the story.
No. I thought it was very relatable. What's the most expensive video you've made to date?
Oh, expensive. As a full production budget, for sure, Stranded 3.
How much was it?
About $250. Well, there's a bunch of overage.
Wow.
So
how many months did that take to produce?
I think we're probably close to 3 something. I had worked with Terry Crews a couple years ago because he plays one of the characters in it. And we had done a Vine together, and I had met his son, a super cool artist. And we were just like, it was a good time making that video. And we reached out like years later and I was like, hey, would you ever like be in a YouTube video? And because we know he kind of likes to experiment with stuff.
Yeah.
And when he said yes, I was like, wait, what? And didn't expect that. Because my thing is like when we shoot a celebrity out for a short film, usually we have them for like, it could be 2 hours. It could be 4 hours. I think we had Zachary Levi for the Shazam thing for 5 hours. It's really pretty, and that's hard if you come from like film production. If you're doing, that was 44 shots or something, that's a lot of shooting. Usually you take like on a feature, you take like a week and a half, 2 weeks to shoot that. And so it's really fast. But I was like, every time we went to their team and Terry, we were like, they're going to say no after this. Cause it'd be like, hey, you might have to come in for a wardrobe fitting because like we don't want to we can't fit you out there.
Right.
And he's like, sure, I'll come over. Oh man, it'd be kind of cool to read the script together. He's like, cool, we'll do a part of the wardrobe fitting.
Wow.
And then the hard one though, the Stranded 3 takes place in the desert, and so the closest shooting desert for us that we chose was Glamis, which is like 6.5 hours away, and there's nothing there. Like we'd have to camp. It's an hour from the city, so we were like, and can we drive? Like, can you meet us 6 hours away? And he's like, sure.
Wow.
I'll come out.
I also think it's fascinating. I read that you give yourself a salary from your own company. Why is that? Because I feel like that almost caps how much you can make as a creator, and you're one of the fastest growing, one of the biggest out there.
It's just easier. I don't have to think about the numbers. I don't know. I've been doing that for so long. We just created a salary probably 9 years ago, and I created it based on like, I don't want to get too comfortable in life. And I think doing like a percent, if I take like a certain percent of the business every year, it's just complicated, or I might take on projects that I don't need to do. But that's just easier for accounting. So we run the business based on like my salary, just like every other employee is in the books. So we know the burn rate every month.
Interesting.
And it's just easier to manage versus
plan
like,
for it.
yeah, it helps play into the 9 to 5 thing. Honestly, like I feel like I'm an employee here. Obviously I'm like the owner of the business, but I just want to like show up to work and make awesome stuff and go home, be with my family. And so we try to implement that. It's like, that's like the guiding light. I don't want someone to join the team and be like, you told us 9 to 5, but we've been working a lot. There are seasons like where we do, you know, I don't do all nighters anymore, but we'll do like a really late export, or, you know, I still post everything to the channels. So I wake up at 5 a.m. to do that. Or
Wow. Can I ask you a more personal question?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
I told you I'm about to become a dad.
Yeah.
And
congratulations.
Thank you, man.
That's so exciting.
Thank you, man. I mean, all credit to my wife. And
Yeah.
I'm a bit nervous because like I'm like, I want to be as present of a dad as possible. And I feel like as a creator, it's hard to clock out. How did you like set up boundaries, or how do you recommend? Because I think it's not just if you're going to be a dad, it's something like people have like, you know, friends or like, you know, significant others, like being a creator can be all consuming and can sacrifice those relationships. How do you create boundaries in your life to be a present dad, a present husband, you know, a present friend? Like how do you go about doing that? What advice do you have?
Like I'll let you know when I figure out most of it at the end of my life. But the one thing that helps me a lot is I just get distracted with, and like a lot of times, less patient with my kids and Rachel if I'm on my phone and I'm answering work, because then it feels like they're nagging me versus, and like I don't need to answer that email right then. Or if I did, we just have a rule. I'll step in my office, shut the door, or just I'll let her know like, hey, I have 5 minutes I got to wrap up emails. Or sometimes I'll come home and just go through the side gate into my office. So my kids don't know I'm home yet. So they're not like, you know, wanting to play with me while I'm trying to answer the last 3 emails of the day.
It's not, the physical barrier is interesting. Like it's almost when you cross the threshold.
Yeah. When
like
I literally walk into on the carpet in the living room, it's playtime.
Yeah.
The kids want to play. They will not want to hear, you know, my kids do pretty well, actually. I will be like, hey guys, I have to answer an email. And they'll like, and they'll just sit there and wait like 5 minutes. And they're like, you said 5 minutes.
That's amazing. And in some ways I imagine like playing with your kids may unlock new ideas.
Oh, it's like, it's like not even for mining great ideas, which they do have, but it's their imagination. What's cool is that they're in yes and you realize I felt guilty too. I was like, why? I'm the one saying no. Like my kid this morning was building a race car out of a cardboard box and had a little steering wheel and he wanted to tape it there. And I was like, well, I can tell you right now, the steering wheel is wood. It's going to fall off. I have no tape that's strong enough. Even if you want to use my gaff tape, like guaranteed when you go outside and push it's going to fall off. So like, you don't want to do that. Plus it doesn't turn. And then I'm like, why am I shutting down his idea? Like I should go get tape and he should learn that it's not going to do that. And then he'll come up with a new like idea. And just like, they have these rabbit trails that honestly, like the one thing, just go with it.
Bring it home, Zach. I think one of the things I've noticed about your work is that there are roots in old Hollywood throughout it all.
Yeah.
And I've prepared a few clips from Buster Keaton.
Oh, I love Buster.
And I noticed that he does so many jump cuts that are reminiscent
Yes.
of what you're doing today. So I just wanted you to play the clip and talk to me about how that's inspired you and what does the future of filmmaking look like?
This is a classic. He's teleporting through movies on the big screen. The thing I always wanted him to do in this one is walk out of the screen. I don't think he does it here. Yeah, it's so good. This is so good. We share all these clips internally.
Really?
Every once in a while. But I love Buster Keaton. I studied him little after Vine because I would notice comments from probably older people who were like, hey, your work, it looks like Buster Keaton. Or like they'd pull out a Charlie Chaplin thing. Or a George Méliès is a big one. There's a famous one where they're walking and it looks like he's with a girl with an umbrella. And when she turns to the side, it's actually a horse and the dress is hanging off the back of the horse and the umbrella is attached to the horse.
Yeah.
Or we did a video referencing Buster at the back of the car, and the car drives off and I'm on the tire, and that's one of his gags. But we just added the mat. It's like, how do you 10% that or 50% it? And we made the tire like a little sewer grate that I could go into and teleport away from the scene. So it's fun to reference those because for sure the young generation does not know who that is. I get that a little bit from Austin Kleon, Steal Like an Artist.
Yeah.
Like you take references, and I'm glad you picked that out. Those are fun.
Yeah. Where do you think this is going to go? If this is maybe the first era, you're the second era, what does this next era look like with AI? Like you're using 3D printing, like you're using so many new technologies to further storytelling. Where do you think it's going to go if we sit down again in 5-10 years?
For me, I think I'm going to be still pretty practical. I love the idea that you can touch props, that you can see them, that you can interact with them. And I love the James Cameron blend of them. You know, he says like, have a CG shot, but then go to practical, but then go to a mix of like miniature plus CG, and then go back, and then you repeat it. So that it's a quick cycle. So the audience can't have time. They don't have time to pick it out.
Yeah.
By the time they're on to the next shot, and so they're watching that. And so I love that, just the overall illusion in filmmaking. That's fun to me. And so I was inspired by like all the ETs in Jurassic Park and seeing those images of like Steven with the alien, you know, and messing with, and like, and so the actors seeing them and nowadays it feels like it's half like a green screen morph suit person.
Yeah. Or a tennis ball or something.
Which is different. Yeah. But I love trying to like stay close to that practical, because it just gives the actors a little more to work with.
What percent of your work is practical, if you had to give it
like 90%.
Wow.
Almost everything is very practical.
And the remaining 10% is VFX, the stuff you do.
I mean, there's VFX in everything, but
Yeah.
it's like a lot of, it's a little bit unglamorous VFX sometimes, because it's like cleanup of maybe a C stand or, you know, like, or a cleanup of a hole in the wall or something. But we try, like if we're doing fire, we try to do it for real. If we're doing water, it's like as much as possible is real.
Yeah.
With the Amazon thing, we tried to like do a drive for wet, is what they call it. And so like you bring in fog into the room, you waft it, you do shimmering lights, and you light them for like underwater, and then we were going to key it or something, or blue screen it.
Oh, so it's faking water.
It's faking
without
it. You'd be on wires, you'd be floating. But we just like, after we tested that, it, you know, like water interacts in so many ways with your clothing and your skin and the hairs of your skin. And so like all of that, and there's distortion underwater. So we just, when possible and when budget allows, and oftentimes it's funny, we end up, for anything that we've tried to do all in CG, it costs just as much to do pretty much real fire or post fire as it does like the real thing. So that's one reason, like VFX, it adds up on either side.
Yeah. It's so fascinating to see what you've done. I can't wait to see what you'll do both in your personal and professional life. And just thank you for being an inspiration to me and so many other creators.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Of course. That's a wrap on Zach.
That's a wrap. Thank you, John.
Thank you, buddy.